as long as you still cannot use PVA. Carp fishing is always extremely difficult. One option to still be able to fish excellently for carp, and that even with a pop-up rig and feed, is the method feeder. I am testing here right now on method feeder and simply only method feeder pop-up, and I am here at a spot that actually always works quite well again and again. A very classic spot. And here at this place, I am now testing, of course, just like you normally do from the very beginning, first 3 or 4 different aromas, and the aroma that then works the best, yes, that one I expand with the feed mix, of course, and we can actually do that right from the start. So let's start here with the first one. And the huge advantage when using method feeder is that we have these special feed baskets. Let's take a look at the setup. These here are the feed baskets, or this is how the setup looks. I am here very classically fishing a pop-up, so artificial corn in the aroma crab, and I am using a feed basket right here. That means that in this case, we have a lead, and on this lead plate, the feed is pressed on top. There are actual molds for this, which let you press the feed into these small gaps, and at the same time, the little hook here also holds the hair. So basically our small leader. Here we obviously make sure that the leader is not too long. I'm using 10 centimeters to 15 centimeters long leaders. This leader is then pressed together with the bait into the feed. And when we then cast out, it lands almost like PVA directly with the feed in the feed cloud, exactly at the spot where our bait is lying. And that is of course a huge advantage as long as you have not unlocked PVA. Despite all of that, one has to say that method feeder is also unlocked very far down the skill tree. So it is actually again an in-game rig, a very advanced rig, but with it you can very well get the last few percent in bottom fishing. You do not need to invest skill points here. You can do it if you have too many points left at some point in the higher level range, but it's not mandatory to invest skill points here. If you still have not skilled the essential and important rigs, then those obviously have priority. Method feeder can simply help to bridge that leveling phase a little bit. And if you are also standing at a spot that works really well with a pretty good frequency, then leveling becomes much more fun. I tested the whole thing here now without feed, and now we go in with a matching feed mix. Here we have the feed mix, crab and carp. With these large leads, it is so that I always have 3 portions directly. There is also a version with 2 portions, or a single portion. That always depends on the casting weight of your rod that you use. So here you see it, 10 centimeter leader. That means we now have the crab corn and the feed mix pressed together in this feed basket. And this is how the whole thing is cast out here now. I am clipped at 10 meters right now, and now casting for the first time here with feed. We do the same thing again here. Let's go into this one. Here I have again crab, but here I have a slightly different oyster and crab, but it still works very well here. Oyster and crab and mussel. What do we have here? Here I think it is crab and fish. Exactly. These are the different dips that I'm using right now, but overall it works really well here, mainly with crab. Also, this rod clipped at 10 meters. And now we have in total 9 of these balls inside. And if at some point with the next cast you have 12 balls inside, or 15 or 18, that is still not too dramatic. I would perhaps stay under 30 of these balls, so the spot does not get overfed. And it already starts again. That is good. I tighten the lines a bit. Of course, we also have a weather change right now, so I hope the spot is not affected too much. I think the fish is already gone. So that is how it looks right now. I just tested various aromas, and the one that started immediately from the very beginning, even without feed, was crab. So I expanded everything based on that. But I think the fish is right. Yes, he is still on. He has not decided yet, but with that tasty feed, he will decide now. Speaking of feed, let's take a look shortly at how the feed is built. I would say we land this fish here quickly, And now he made his decision? Yes. And then we look into the feed mix, and then we actually already have the most important information for the spot. So cast out again at 10 meters, tighten it shortly. So now lying on the ground, our feed basket is down there, and in the feed cloud, we now have our corn floating. And corn is of course a very important component in our feed mix. Obviously, if we are making a feed mix using corn as bait, then corn must also be inside the feed mix. For the feed mixes, we are not using the dry mix here, but the normal balls. We press these balls into the mold, into the lead. And that is the huge advantage. With the dry feed mix, we wouldn't need that. Another advantage, some feed components can only be pressed into these balls. So this is a kind of wet feed, and the other is a dry feed. We could theoretically add from the food section, for example, egg or even condensed milk. That cannot be used in a dry feed mix. Condensed milk is always a good bait for tench, for example. For this spot here, I simply selected the components so that I obviously include crab, because crab works so well. So I also take crab twice. There is king crab feed pellets and the normal crab feed pellets. Those are two different pellets. That is why I used both. Using 3 identical pellets does not make sense. We know that by now. That just wastes slots, and we would rather fill the slots with additional natural baits. So here again, corn as an attractor. Fly maggot is also in a classic carp feed mix, and the whole package is rounded off with the aroma crab and mussel. And then of course we still have the base. The base is cornmeal because, as said, corn works very well at the moment. And then it works really well here, and you can pull one fish after another. In terms of frequency, I would say it is okay at the moment. Earlier it was a bit better before the rain. I hope it balances out again with the feed. You can also test completely different places here, but I think it is already starting again here. Cast out in the front. If you want to be comfortable and not walk much from the base down here, cast simply into this direction. 15 meters is also quite good, but I usually start here, clipped at 10 meters, test it here, then I test in that direction. You basically have right here in the city the option to test 2 spots well before you go to the classic spot at 35 meters down there. So in walking distance, where you do not need to walk far, there are several other spots that you can test well. And when you have 2 or 3 places that always work well, then you simply rotate. 1 hour at the first spot, and when that one gets tired, go to the next, then to the third. Meanwhile, 2 hours passed and the first spot has regenerated. Let's reel out a bit more. Weight-wise, I have to say I am really satisfied. They were really good weights, some around 5 kilograms or more. So that fits very well. Method feeder, just test it a bit more. I tested it years ago when I unlocked it for the first time. So that was really long ago. Back then I even invested skill points, but was not fully satisfied. But meanwhile, a lot has changed in the game, so you must test such things again and reevaluate them with current knowledge. And it continues, and it continues. Very nice. More of that, please. I will now reel out a bit more. I hope something rare might bite as well. Why not? But I must now be careful not to overfeed, because I already cast again twice with feed. So now we simply take out the feed ball. The whole thing works exactly the same without feed. And then we cast out loosely. And when I want to feed again, I can throw in the balls manually or press them into the method feeder again and cast. So fishing at this spot always works quite well. Important is, of course, if you want to copy this, especially if you watch the video later, test baits. Do not blindly use crab now and then wonder why it does not work if the video is already 3 weeks old. That is normal. Fish preferences change. So, test other baits, 5, 6, 7, 8 different aromas. The aroma that works best, use that on all 3 rods. Then make the feed mix, and then you get nice percentages. And of course, silver and XP. If this helped, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, that helps me, and then we see each other in the next video. Until then, tight lines.